You tell me when. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody out to the regular scheduled county commission meeting. We're here in the commission chambers. It's August 5th, or 15th, 2022. It's 11 a.m. We'd ask if you'd turn your cell phones off or put them on silent if you would, please. We'll start out with a prayer today from Becky Richards and the pledge from John Sturmer.
Dear Father, as we come before thee today as a community to make decisions, we ask thee that thou will help us to make the correct ones for what we need. We're grateful for this beautiful county that we live in and the freedoms and opportunities that we have to enjoy. Oh, Heavenly Father, for thy watchful care over us, we ask thee to continue to help us and become united. We ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, John. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for August 1st, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for August 1st, 2022.
Okay, have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next item is report of the warrants and review of the counter signatures of certified list of claims.
Commissioners, I have warrants for two different times. First one is August 5th in the amount of $85,229.69. There wasn't anything big on that one. The next one from August 12th in the amount of $596,046.11. There was a large one on this one to Motorola Solutions for $314,698.52. None of these warrants were created, modified, or deleted in my office, for the record. And also, just for the record, as I was looking through these invoices, we have a lot of outstanding balances on our utility bills that have not been kept up. Just thought I'd bring that out. Also, we do have two claims from the August, I think it was from the August 12th check run. First one was Mansfield Printing for check number 381264, $1,192.80. This was travel and tourism. They purchased dinosaur hunting licenses. Did not get a purchase order on that one. Next one is check number 381259 for $875 to Grab and Growl Dutch Oven Catering. This was for the ATV ride. So those are the two claims for that one, Commissioners.
Okay. Do you have any questions or
I had a
comments?
question. On these warrants, I'm sorry, you said the grand total was $596,046.11. And you said,
For August 12th,
yeah,
let me see. $596,046.11.
okay, and you said something about Motorola?
There's a check in there for Motorola Solutions for ARPA funds for
$14,000.
$698.52.
Okay, I thought you said 200 and
No,
some.
$314,000.
Okay. All right, and on the bills we just did, take care of that so that we don't have to wait for them to go through. Worked with purchasing to deal with those. Did have, I don't know if this is part of the warrants list or not, did you receive these 60-day currency notice or courtesy notice and then the compliance report from the auditor's office?
Yes, I have, and they've been taken care of, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, because they said we weren't going to get our sales tax money unless we put that report in there.
The one of them was probably the transparency hadn't been sent in. That has
Yeah.
been done.
Because this says it was a delinquency report, but it sounds like
It's
been taken care of. Okay.
You brought up on the Motorola radios. We haven't received them yet, have we? You have received some of them. Can we pay for those until they're received?
It was processed, so that's all I know, is that it was in the check run. You want me to hold the check? We can hold the check. It's in this week's check run.
Yeah, let's hold that check for right now.
We can do that.
We haven't received the goods, and I was under the impression that we didn't pay for anything until we had the goods.
Somebody's processed it for payment.
Okay.
Mike, what do you mean when you say you haven't, you make that statement? You haven't modified?
I have not created, deleted, or modified these transactions. These were not done in the clerk auditor's office.
Okay, so what did you do with them? What do you do?
I didn't enter them.
No, but so what do you do then with,
We print them. That's all we do is print them. We can't change them. We can't do
so you don't
anything.
audit them to see if
We
they're-
audit them.
if
In
we've-
fact, in one of these check runs, we found a check that had been already issued twice. We caught that one and we can void it, so that one will be voided.
Okay, so there's something you do with them?
Yep.
Okay,
So what do we do on this Motorola? You just hold it until
I
we
can hold it
receive the
until we
stuff,
do
then
some
you can
more
send it out?
checking on that one.
Okay, all right. Sounds good.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a follow-up question? Just because it keeps coming up. So my understanding, now that Senate Bill 162 has been passed, we do have purchasing downstairs. They're supposed to be developing an encumbrance list. But then that encumbrance list is supposed to be being sent to the auditor's office to then follow into the financial system. So is that not, are we not there yet where we have the encumbrance and then the financial system, where those are two separate things?
To my knowledge, no. It's still a pre-registered like we always have for the last 30 years. We still get a pre-register of what checks that are going to be written.
But it's just showing that it's encumbered, right? It's on the encumbrance list.
It's on
That's
a
what I was
pre-register report that is going to print those checks. I cannot change it, modify it, or delete it.
Okay, and I see you smiling. I'm wondering
I'm just-
why.
I-
Why are we not there yet? Because I'm
Well,
asking
let's-
this question to all
well,
four
let's-
of you.
let's ask
Why are
Rick.
we not there yet?
Rick, would you come up for a second?
Because the statute's very clear. There's an encumbrance list,
Mm-hmm.
which is outside of Senate Bill 162, and then there is the creation in the financial system. Now, the two should be talking to each other. They better be talking to each other.
They are.
But there's encumbrance and there's financial system. If we are not there yet, I want to know why in this meeting right now, why we're not there yet. Because I'm sick of hearing about it. So let's find out right now what's going on with it.
Rick May, Uintah County IT Director. The software is being developed right now. It's not complete yet. We're having problems with people being on vacation, so we can work out all the bugs. The side that the finance department's, the creation of the list of encumbrances is basically in the beta stage. It's ready to start testing out and correcting the problems. The side that they'll be in the clerk auditor's side, where they'll be doing the actual entries into the AP data table. We're waiting for one of the clerk auditor's employees to get back off vacation to finish up that. But right now it is pending some verification of what they want, how they want it set up. So it just takes a while to write software to do this stuff. So there's no way to just automatically, with the software package we had in hand, to do what the policy required.
Okay.
Okay.
So is Mike not able to do anything right now off of that encumbrance list?
All we can do is print checks. I can't go and modify it. Any check that's anything coming in on this encumbrance report, which we will have, I cannot change it, modify it, delete it, anything. All I can do is print the checks and then go in and void the check after it's entered, after it's been printed.
So if you see something that's not correct, what are you able to do?
Print the check. That's all I'm able to do, and then stop it afterwards and void the check. That's what we did on the last one.
Is there a reason that can't be? The encumbrance system's supposed to be different than the financial system under state statute. But it will come from encumbrance. I mean, I'd hate to get to the point where we're printing things off on paper and bringing it to the auditor's office. It should be from encumbrance into the auditor's office, where they are then able to enter it into the financial system. That's
We do not
That's
enter-
not as easy as just giving a permission to the
The problem
auditor's
is that
office.
you'd have two people with access into being able to do the same thing. There'd be no way to track who's making those changes. So if the finance is putting stuff in, the clerk auditor is putting stuff in, there's no way to differentiate.
But it should just be an encumbrance list. So I guess I'm not understanding, what are they putting in? It's just, it's
In
an
the past with
encumbrance
the
entry.
previous software, the only one that got encumbrance was if there's a purchase order. So unless we're writing purchase orders for every single invoice that comes out, they don't get encumbered in the previous software. In the current one, we create a list of encumbrances and expenditures, and that's where that will occur.
Okay.
What are you thinking on time frame?
His site is basically at the same point we're ready to start testing them out between the two. So maybe 1 or 2 weeks more we'll be done on that. So it just takes time, and with everybody taking their summer vacations, it's been there's been some gaps there.
Okay. Well, that was my question, because I'm just, I don't know.
Because all the invoices are being entered down in purchasing. The
On an
invoices,
encumbrance list.
all the invoices are being entered in the purchasing office for payment. We do not enter any invoices, have not been able to enter any invoices for payment.
Okay. We knew Senate
Yeah, we
bill
don't want
was
that.
passed and
Right.
signed by the governor early spring this year. We're now into mid-August. It's an encumbrance system, it's a financial system. My legal advice to God and country is, let's get it done. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm done with this conversation. Chair, you can move on. I don't understand why this is taking so long, from downstairs to the second floor to upstairs on the third floor. We knew that this was an issue mid-spring of 2022. It just, statute says we have an encumbrance list, statute says we have a financial system. Let's get it done. That's my legal advice.
Yeah, I know, it's been worked on ever since.
It's
We
being
met
worked on
before the
even as
time
we
and
speak.
they've been programming, so however that works out. We agree.
Okay, thanks, Rick. So,
So where are we at?
do you want to do the signature of certified list of claims?
Here,
I think he's got a
I
call
got an answer for you.
update.
So all the radios are in. We have a few batteries and a couple accessories is all we're waiting on.
Okay.
So with that, do you want to release the check or do you want us to hold it?
What's the policy say, John? Where the radios and everything are in, are we good to pay it?
I did notice that the purchase order was for $348,000. We paid $314,000. So would have to go back. Maybe both of us get together and look and see. Maybe we're actually only paying for what has been received. That I do not know,
That probably is. Okay.
and that could very well be.
More sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I did
So-
notice the purchase order was for more money than what the actual
Oh, then
check is.
let's pay. It's probably for
Yeah, it
what
was
we've received.
$348, and we paid $314 something.
Let's find that out and then get it back.
We'll follow
two
up
are
on
okay
that.
Both of the orders are radios, so.
Okay.
Okay. So did we make a motion on the review of counter signature certified list of claims yet?
No.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize signature of the certified list of claims as presented.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Cemetery certificates. Mike.
Got a few today, Commissioners. First one, Mazer Cemetery, Barbara Lacey, Lot 1099, Space 2. Continuing to Mazer Cemetery, Julia Johnson, Mazer Columbarium, West Side, F7, double. Mazer Cemetery, Doreen M. Robbins, Mazer Columbarium, West Side, F6, single. Rock Point Cemetery, Phase 2, Thomas Grant and Vera Grant, Block 332, Lot C, Space 15. And moving to Vernal Memorial Park, Edward Schwartz Sr. and Deborah Schwartz, Block 206, Space 1. And that's all of those.
Okay. Any questions? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the cemetery certificates that have been presented by Mike Wilkins.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next item is tax matters.
I have one today, Commissioners. After valuation notices went out, Duchesne County School District purchased approximately 15 acres just to the east of their new school. And it was a previously platted subdivision. They bought the whole thing. There was 2 lots in that did not get put into non-taxable district. And so they've called me, they're a school district, requesting abatement for those and requesting that we put them in the correct tax district. The correct tax district we will deal with through Board of Equalization, but to abate the taxes for these two lots, serial number 17, 46, and 116 in the amount of $28.96, and serial number 17, 46, 176 for $28.96, for a total of $57.92.
Now, where is this again? You said
It sets actually behind where the UBATC sets in Roosevelt.
okay,
Right behind it, there was approximately 15 acres.
and it crossed over into Uintah County.
Yeah, it's in Uintah.
Okay.
All of it is in
Because
Uintah
when you
County.
were saying Duchesne
No.
School, I was like,
Yeah,
what?
it butts up to their parking lot and their new stadium, football stadium.
Okay.
And they felt that it was advantageous for them to pick that property up while it was available.
Okay.
And they made this purchase last February of 2021. So it was taken care of then, but when it was all said and done, 2 lots didn't get in the proper tax district.
So this 5792 is for 2022 taxes, not
Correct.
2021. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the correction of tax district and
Well,
refund.
the tax
We haven't
district will do through
collected-
BFE. They have not, they've just been charged.
Okay, they've just been charged.
So we need to abate the tax, and then we'll do the tax
Okay.
district through Board of Equalization.
So approve the abatement of taxes in the amount of $57.92 to Duchesne County School District, or Duchesne School District.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Any other tax matters today?
Danette Brooks, Uintah County Assessor's Office. Uintah County Assessor Office is requesting a refund of county assessed fee for Danette Vane Gerard at 620 West, 950 South, Vernal, Utah, Tax District Number 4 in the amount of $150. The reason for the refund is she bought out her vehicle lease and the paperwork was delayed, so she had to renew the lease registration fees and then re-register the vehicle once the title was changed.
Okay. Any discussion? Any questions? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and give the $150 refund to Danette Gerard in Tax District 4. That got us covered.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Utah Region 5 Regional Coordination Plan.
Heidi Lundberg, Uintah County Emergency Manager. This is the regional coordination plan for Daggett, Duchesne, and Uintah counties. And the purpose of this plan is to define the actions and roles necessary to provide a coordinated regional response within Utah Region 5. And so I don't know if you wanted me to go through it or just... We've discussed it. We had a region committee meeting where it was discussed and approved, and John's office reviewed it and was okay with it.
Okay.
This is an annual plan, or is it every
5 years?
No, this one is just a regional plan that we've came up with.
Oh, new?
It's the region, yeah.
But it's new for the...
Yeah.
Never had one before?
No, so it's just how we would respond as a region and coordinated response.
Okay.
And the signature we're hoping to do electronically so that we can have, because we're having all the counties do that as well. So we'll get with
John,
you.
did you have any concerns or questions with that plan?
No, I mean, it's pretty general in its language, but it has all the parties at least coming together on an agreement to discuss general communication strategies and stuff like that. So it's fine.
That's the one you sent over today.
Yes. And this has been approved in Daggett County and Duchesne County as well.
Okay. All right, to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Uintah County's participation in the Region 5 Regional Coordination Plan as presented by Heidi.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you, Heidi. Business licenses.
Good morning, Gabby Hawks Blackburn with Community Development. We have 4 today, and they're all kind of different, so it's probably best to hear them one by one if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay.
The first one is Limitless Deals LLC, located at 2885 South, 500 West, parcel numbers. Limitless Deals.
Deals.
The parcel number is 623-233 in the RA1 zone. So they buy and resell items online. No customers will enter their home, but it is a Division 2 because they are keeping the possibility open to sell at fairs and stuff. So the only conditions on this one are that they follow all home-based business rules and regulations.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the business license for Limitless Fields and for it to follow all home-based business requirements.
Yeah, I think it's Deals, D-E-A-L-S.
Deals.
Yeah,
Deals.
sorry, my bad.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Our next one is Arctic Desert Freeze Drying. It's actually at the same location, so 2885 South, 500 West, parcel number 623233 in the RA1 zone. They're going to be busy. So they're also doing freeze drying. So the meals are made and prepared at the client's homes, and then they're just brought to these people to freeze dry, and then they're given back. So there's no cooking done at the home. There's just pickup and drop off at the home. So the conditions on this one are that they follow home-based business rules and regulations, and that no cooking is done at the home. All food is prepared at the client's homes.
Good idea. Okay. Any questions?
Okay, it's just basic home-based business rules. Okay.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve business license for Arctic Desert Freeze Dried,
Freeze drying.
freeze drying.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You in?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Our next one is Black Diamond Dent Repair, located at 2422 West, 1000 North, parcel number 4852 in the RA1 zone. So this is automotive dent repair, but it's exclusively dent repair. So no mechanical, no electrical, no painting. He goes to the client's home, pops out the dent, and that's it. And that's actually his conditions as well, that he follows all home-based business rules and regulations, that no work is done at the home, all work is done at clients' homes, and no mechanical, electrical, or painting is done on the car in any form. Exclusively dent extraction is completed.
What's his phone number? Okay. Any questions? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the Black Diamond Dent Repair and the recommendation to follow all home-based business rules and regulations.
Okay. Have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
And our last one is Jump for Jesus Preschool. So they got a conditional use permit at our last planning commission meeting. And so now they're just finishing up with their business license. This is located at 2766 North, 3500 West, parcel number 42343. Their preschool was approved with the hours of operation from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., and that they follow all Uintah County ordinances, and that they have no outdoor play area. And so we're recommending approval of the business license with the condition that they follow their conditional use permit requirements.
Okay. Any questions? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the business license for Jump for Jesus Preschool, provided with the understanding they follow all the terms and conditions of the conditional use permit.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate everything. Next item is a bid awarding for financial and human capital management software. Commissioner Stringer?
Yeah, unless, I was trying to get a hold of Zeke, but this is one we've talked about before. We went out looking for replacement software or upgraded software for both financial purposes and human capital management. We got bids. We didn't get anything that we thought was great for the human capital. So we've gone ahead and kind of punted on that one and looked to see if we can't develop something maybe internally, or at least go for a smaller sort of solution. On the financial system, we did look at several, and we had multiple meetings that involved elected officials, clerk's office, treasurer's office, assessor's office, recorder's office, commission, budget, and purchasing, and IT also. One of the things that we ended up doing is we talked with Polaris. They were a bid that came in, and we don't I said I don't see Zeke here today. He's the one that was coordinating that. So I don't, I guess going forward with this, I'm going to be moving that we award the contract to Polaris for our financial system. I don't have all, I just kind of know part of the numbers. There's the acquisition of the software, and then there's the contract. And the grand total is $90,000 or $95,000. And I believe the contract is for 5 years, but since I don't have that here, I don't know if I can just say we have to table it until we have it exactly, or if I just make the motion to move forward with completing. I don't think we don't have a contract. So I would want to award the bid, but I don't have the exact number. Rick, do you happen to know it? Any chance? Tanya, did you? Oh, you can't talk. You just say yes or no. Anyway, if that's the case, then maybe we could wait until we're ready with the exact numbers. Or I can say, well, no, let's go ahead and
so
do it.
the number amount would have been received in on the bid, right?
Yes.
We're not altering that amount.
No.
Was the duration of the contract part of the bid as well? Or was that a negotiated
I think
term?
it might have been negotiated. 5 years, 3 years, or 5 years. I don't know. That's why I'm saying I tried to
So
get a hold of
that
Zeke,
part we would
but-
need to know. I mean, the
Okay.
dollar amount, it could just be as reflected in the bid.
Okay.
So if we're not negotiating any additional amount, but if the term was negotiated or we don't know, I would want to make sure that we had approval of that.
Okay. Well, maybe let's go ahead and table this till
Table it.
next week.
Okay. We'll table this item until next week. We have the proper numbers.
Ran out of time this morning before we could get a hold of Zeke.
Okay.
Yeah. Commissioner, you could also just put this down at the end of the agenda and see if that communication
I
can be
tried to
made
call
before
him and
then.
he didn't answer, so I don't know if he's here or not. Oh,
Do
you
you
have a
wanna
copy
come
of the
up to the-
contract? Well, here, you
Yeah.
can just bring it here. It's fine. Okay. All right, the software pricing proposal, or SaaS, or hosted. And I think this one is SaaS, it's on site. The subtotal software is $35,000, subtotal implementation $60,000, and then year one through year one is maintenance of $25,000. So it looks like the grand total for year one is $85,000, and then year 2 through 5 is $100,000. So it's $25,000.
a year.
$25,000 a year. So the grand total over 5 years would be $220,000.
Just for the financial part, sorry. Turn my mic off, just for the financial part?
Yes,
Okay. So it sounds like it's for a 5-year term there.
it's software implementation and maintenance all for 5 years.
Okay.
So does that work? Can we make a motion on this, or?
Be a motion on those bid terms, and then
We s-
authorization to
do a
effectuate all
contract.
agreements based off of those terms.
Okay.
That's my motion.
I will entertain a motion if you want.
That was it.
No,
I'll second it.
no.
We have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
So then, who's taking the lead on this then, as far as communicating with them? My guess is this company would have a form contract
Yes.
So if we can just make sure that gets requested and then we can review it.
What I'll do is I will get with IT, with Rick, and with Zeke, because Zeke's been handling a lot of the work with Polaris, the contact with them. So the three of us will get together and we'll figure out what the contract paperwork will look like.
All right, next item on the agenda is acknowledgement of the certificate of class of county change.
Commissioners, if you recall, last November, December, we wrote a letter to the governor's office, to the lieutenant governor's office, requesting to be changed to a fourth-class county rather than a third-class county. We have finally received the certificate of class change from them, and I wanted to acknowledge that to the commission. John, everybody's been after it for 11 months, quite a while now, but we did finally receive it and wanted to make that acknowledged. And then, John, I don't know if you said they need to do something now to.
No, it's done now. We just needed that from. They sent us a letter like 3 months ago saying they made the change, and then Karina's been saying, but we need the actual paperwork, and so she's been following up. And it sounded like maybe there was a staff change, because the last time she reached out, the staff member at the LG's office said, "Whoa, we thought this had been taken care of," and then very shortly thereafter it arrived. So it sounds like it probably just ended up in an inbox, or it was sitting off on the corner of a desk and people thought it was done, but it wasn't.
Right.
But we got it now.
Okay. So, I guess frame it and put it on your wall.
We'll put it in where we saved the last time when we jumped back from third to fourth to third to fourth. Put it in with the jump rope with them.
Okay. Next item is discussion and approval of the BOE hearing officer agreement.
Commissioners, this one is with the same gentleman we used last year, Jeremy Manning. He is passed all the requirements to be the hearing officer, and as code, we have to have a hearing officer. So I believe I've already sent this to you several weeks ago, a copy of it. This gentleman has signed it, and knock on wood, right now we have like only a couple appeals, and most of them are just greenbelt issues. So hopefully we will not have many with that. So I present this agreement. I anticipate it being, if we actually end up having to use him, it'll be less than probably $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay. Any
How
questions?
much was it for it, though?
He is $45 an hour, up to 50 hours, but I don't see us, if everything stays calm like it has been the last several weeks. I think everybody, the taxpayers, understand the valuations right now is up high. So we have not had, other than, I know there's been a greenbelt one. I haven't had many other stipulations either that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So we probably won't use him at all, but we have to have one.
All right. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion that we approve Jeremy Manning
Manning, Manning. He's out of Layton, Utah.
for Uintah County's BOE hearing officer with this agreement and that has been read forward. Again,
And with approval of the signature.
approval of signatures.
Okay. Have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And vote.
Aye.
Motion passed. Utah State Library Division MOA. Is that supposed to be MOU or is that a MOA?
MOA. Memorandum of Agreement.
Agreement.
Hello, Commissioners. This is a memorandum of agreement between the Utah State Library Division and Uintah County Library. What it is asking for is that we commit to spend the amount of $7,116 into the State Library Division's Overdrive, that's a company, ebook consortium. I've brought this before in previous years. Basically, this is our dues to participate in the state library's consortium. It gives us a good value. It gives us access to approximately $650,000 worth of ebook and e-audiobook content a year. The way that this works out is the state of Utah kicks in $200,000, and then libraries across the state are basically assessed a dues amount based on the budget that the individual library has, the percentage of that budget that goes towards materials, and then they divide that by the total consortium circulation, which last year was in the state of Utah 4.39 million ebook and e-audiobook checkouts, and a good 50,000-ish of those were from residents of Uintah County. One interesting thing to note, I had the attorney's office review this, and they didn't see any issues, but in reflecting on this myself, I noted and reached out to the State Library Division and asked how this vendor was selected. I noted earlier that this agreement's come before us for a few years in a row. When it was originally conceived of, Overdrive was the only vendor and sole source that would work with libraries in this manner. In the last couple of years, other competitors have come up. So I have encouraged the State Library Division that when they are up for renewal with their term for the platform in general, that they ensure that they follow all the state's competitive bidding processes. I personally doubt a sole source would hold up in the future, and I wanted to note that on the record. But as far as our local purchasing goes, the amount they're asking for is $7,116, beginning in January of next year, and I anticipate that would be well within the library's ability to pay. So I'd ask for authorization of signature, but note my concerns. But those should bite the state, not the county, if it comes to it. Again, I'm not a lawyer and not offering any legal or financial advice.
So we're gonna pay them $7,116 to go into this consortium.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're gonna hope that they do their paperwork and keep their ducks in a row.
John, you went through all this?
Tegan did in my office.
Okay.
Did you have any comment on it?
Yeah, just that I checked the amounts that we paid because I looked at the contract from last year, and this is actually less than what we paid last year.
Okay.
And I did approve it as to form.
Okay.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the MOA with Uintah County and the Utah State Library Division, including authorization of signatures for the amount of $7,116. Is it pay and doable for in 2023?
It's, payable 2023.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, next item is Resolution 0801-2022R2. I'm gonna let you guys do that in the motion, read all that.
You're a buddy.
Won't.
All right, you want some discussion before, or
It's
just
up to
make
you.
a
Well,
motion and go?
why don't we pick up where we left off, because what I understand was we had a motion, which I made, and then you chose not to second that motion because you wanted additional information. So that was 2 weeks ago, since we had to cancel last Monday. So I guess the question would be if you have received the information that you were hoping.
Yes,
Okay.
I have, and we've spent a lot of time on it. I know I have, and I know you guys, gentlemen, have too. So I'm good with that.
So we just brought it back up for, see if they want to make another motion on it or let it die.
Well, if that's where we are.
If you have any other comments that you'd like to
No, well,
state, it's the same comments as we've had over the last 2 weeks, so,
Okay. Mr. Chair, it's my turn to make the
yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution 08012022R2, consideration of a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Uintah County, Utah, the issuer, authorizing the defeasance of issuers' general obligation bond serial number 2015, serials 2015, authorizing the execution by the issuer of an escrow agreement and other documents required in connection therewith, authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated by the resolution and related matters. I think I got that, John.
Okay, we have a motion.
second,
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I,
You were gonna explain why today. I understood there were gonna be numbers presented to the public before you approved it. Do we not know the numbers, like you got the contracts with federal prisoners? Like, the number, that's what you said, you come back with the number.
first of all, she's
Actually,
talking
yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
and so she's not on the record.
I'll stand up front, you'll let me.
Well, we're gonna have a conversation among the commissioners first, and then before we take a vote.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion among the commissioners? John? Do you have anything? Do you have any?
Well, I will go ahead and start because this is an issue we have talked about before. We didn't go into it last week because we didn't get a motion and a second.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. But my concerns remain the same. This money does not belong to the county, never has. The county is stewards of public money, period. That's what we do. It's not as if the county collects it and goes, oh boy, what are we going to do with our money? If we're not moving forward with the business of the county and the taxpayers who are the county, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do. People rely on us to manage that money wisely and not just spend it because we have it, but spend it because it is going to the business of the county. I heard a comment 2 weeks ago about, well, if we're heading for a recession, the county needs to get more money. I said, absolutely not. If we're heading into a recession, the people in the county need to keep their money so that they can make it through the recession. If there's anyone who needs to sacrifice in that situation, it should be the county. It shouldn't be the people paying the taxes. I have a real concern that I went back and I pulled the minutes from meetings about the certified tax rate, go all the way back, I think, to 2017. One of the things that really concerns me is every one of those discussions, with the exception of 1 year and exception of this board, none of the elected officials and very few, there were some people, I think those aspiring to become county commissioners, all they talked about was not the taxpayer, it was about the money they could get for the county. I'm reading one here that says, if the county's assets and cash in the bank were continually growing each year, why the employees have not been taken into account. This person stated that they'd heard the employees have not been given raises the past few years, besides the wage compression, which is a raise. Feels the employees are the core, and they should be valued as such. Where's the discussion about the taxpayer? If we're getting money in here and we're building up assets and we're making more, oh, by the way, this person was a person running for commission. So if we're not dealing with the taxpayers and we're not taking care of the taxpayers, then we're doing something dreadfully wrong. We sit here and we make fun of Colorado because they're a purple state going blue, and Utah's supposed to be this bastion of conservatism. This year, the state of Colorado went through and the governor sent out a letter to every taxpayer and said, we have set a law that says this is how much money we can collect, and this is all we're allowed to spend. We've managed to collect more than we needed under our budget. Here's your refund. This is after their tax refund. This is based on their budgeting. So I hate to think that Colorado is becoming more attractive than Utah in terms of tax. That's just terrible. So what I'm really getting at here is I don't think the people who elect us, they're not watching us every day. We have a few that try and watch every day, but this is a tiny minority. They're expecting us to do a good job. They don't know that we've been using tax money to basically influence the outcome of elections. They don't know that that money collected by the county has been used to enrich county employees and elected officials more than is necessary or more than probably should be. But because we have no real financial plan, it's hard to say. So with that in mind, I'm looking at this and saying, no, we're not even really giving money back here because we haven't assessed it. This bond defeasance keeps us from collecting. It doesn't give anything back. It just kind of stems the flow a little bit. But since the valuations went up, you're still paying pretty much the same thing. Just think of how much worse it could be. But then finally, what I've heard so far about why not to do it, I don't think can be relied upon as being an honest assessment. I think that it's very much geared towards preserving a status quo. I have very recently witnessed an episode where false information was given and in such a way as to influence an outcome. And if that's the case, I have to assume that that could occur here as well. So with that in mind, that is why, Pam, that is why I want to do this, is I think the county is mismanaging the public's money and the public's getting the short end of the stick. And even though this may not be giving back all the money that's been taken, it's a start. At least it keeps us from taking more than we need.
Have any other comments? John?
Commissioner, may I make a comment as an
An elected official, you may.
Wendy Long, Uintah County Treasurer. I know that my comments today are not going to change your mind, or they're not going to change the outcome of this decision, but I feel that it's necessary that I do say something. I am very disappointed. I brought out the numbers, I brought out the figures last time. I have fought this for the taxpayers. And I also want to remind the commission that your duty as a commission is not just to the taxpayers, it is also administrative. And to me, this is not a wise administrative decision. This is not going to do the taxpayers any favors when we have to go out and borrow money at a higher interest rate than what we're paying now on the public safety complex. Your position as a commission is also administrative, not only to the taxpayers. And I just want it known and on the record that I disagree with this motion. I disagree with this decision. And I think that that money would be better off in our coffers to be able to use in the future when those needs arise. And I brought that up the last 2 meetings. So with that, Commissioners, I would just like to express my concerns.
Could you answer me a couple questions?
I'll try.
What would you do with the money? The $26 million that we're going to use?
That was brought up.
Let me finish the question. We're still going to have millions of dollars in.
Not very many millions of dollars for
Yeah.
a county this size.
We're going to have we're going to have plenty of money. So my question is, what would you like to do with the $26 million?
The county is here to provide services for the taxpayers. That's the purpose of county government, is to provide services for the taxpayers that they cannot otherwise pay for themselves. We don't know what those future needs are. That's the whole point. That was the whole reason that a bond was taken out in the first place, was so that you keep your money and your reserves for any future needs that may come about and arise. Those are unforeseen, and that's why previous commissions have felt it necessary to keep that money, to put it aside for our future needs.
Could you expound on what kind of needs you're talking about? Something that we're not doing now? A service that we're not covering now?
I think that years ago, we wouldn't have looked and said, oh, we're going to need that now. Now, today, we see those needs arise. You can't look into the future and say, oh, in the future, we're going to need to put a new roof on the library, or we're going to need a new AC unit at the public safety complex. I don't know what those future needs are. That's the reason that you put it aside. Just as the same as your own personal budget. Do you not put money aside for future needs that you may not know what those needs are at the time? But to me, that is being fiscally responsible.
I agree with what you're saying on that. I do. I think that you need to have money set aside to cover expenses as they come up.
You've just approved a $200,000 accounting software that, quite frankly, as we met Commissioner Stringer, we expressed our concern as elected officials, and there was not one elected official that agreed with this and wanted to move forward with this new accounting software. So I don't know why we even were included in that discussion. But that's one of the things now. Now we see a need for a new computer software. So that's one more expense that was not foreseen.
$25,000 a year? Okay.
No,
Besides, I'm an elected official and I went along with it, so that's not quite accurate. Could we ask, well, do you have any more questions?
No, I just wanted
If we
to,
could get
Pam was talking about some numbers, and I just wanted to talk about the numbers on this, because that would come out of your capital projects. At the first of the year, we had $17 million in there. If we take the 11 out, plus what we have already accumulated, we're still gonna have over $5.5 million in there. In 2016, out of the capital projects, total, we used $170,000. In 2017, we used $87,000. In 19, we used $339,000. In 19 was the biggest year when we resurfaced all the parking lots at the jail, everywhere. We used $500,000 there. And then we went back down to $156,000 and $123,000. So I'm having a hard time seeing why we need $17 million in a capital project fund. That fund's just money that you're supposed to have it assigned for a project, and so you can hide it. I mean, so it's not in your general fund, so you don't have too much money in your general fund.
And may I suggest that you wait 4 years when these bonds become callable and you don't spend $2 million to defease it?
But the taxpayer's paying $2.4 million every single year for the next, how many years? 13 years. So you would rather that the county doesn't pay 2.4 than have every taxpayer in the county for the next 13 years pay 2.4.
You're going to do this, and that's fine. Do it. New commission will just have to figure out how we're going to make things balance. But just so you know, you don't have as much money in there as you think. You're proposing to transfer 6.6 million from the Municipal Building Authority. There's only 6,458,000 available. You're proposing to use 1.5 million from debt service fund balance. Today's cash balance on that is $1,143,000. You have an outstanding check of $2,000 on that one. There's $59,000 of current taxes collections that's got to go back. There's $70,000 worth of fee and lieu money that's got to go back to the treasurer to disperse to other entities. There's an $18,000 Anadarko refund that's got to be paid. So that brings that down to $900,000. So you'll need to come up with additional $600,000 to make this work, just so you know. And I'll be back in a few weeks with a tax anticipation note to borrow money to pay the bills.
See any need to. Do you?
No.
I think we're good. I'll entertain a motion.
We did.
We did have
We've
it.
had mo-
Oh,
we've
yeah,
had
we had a motion and a second, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I'll entertain a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Next item is,
Tabled Moon Lake.
oh yeah, we're tabling the Moon Lake Electric contract for a future date. Next item is ordinance amendment, ordinance number 0808202201.
Okay, Matt Kazir, Community Development Office. Okay, I have here for your consideration today an ordinance. It has been recommended by the Planning Commission. It was a unanimous vote back in May, on May 18th of this year. And that's been looked at by the commission since that point. So what this does is it adds to our current section of code at 17.33.020, number 1, storage of commercial vehicles and trailers in non-commercial, non-commercial and non-industrial zones. And what it does is it adds the storage of construction materials to that section. And tried to make it a little larger. I don't know how well that can be seen up there. Let's see here. It does define construction materials as items generally used for the construction of residential, commercial, and public or agricultural buildings and structures, excluding landscape materials, gravels, wood chips, ground coverings, road bases, dirt, soil, and similar exterior materials. Construction materials do not include materials used for the construction of oil and gas wells or associated storage and distribution lines and tanks. This came about due to the large fluctuation in construction materials. And so contractors are purchasing materials, trying to buy them when they're cheaper so that they can construct homes for people and not have to pay the higher rate of lumber or other materials. And so contractors have been purchasing these things and they needed places to store them. They didn't have job sites necessarily for the materials. So some of them are storing them at their homes, and there are rules that they have to follow when they have a home-based business that are similar to these rules. Not the exact same, but In some cases, the property can't fall under the home-based business rules because there's no home on the property. And so this was brought forward by a construction company, and it was taken through the Planning Commission. There were several public hearings on it. And there was concerns by the public about it that came up, mainly due to one location where they'd be looking at doing something like this. But the Planning Commission tried to look at this more county-wide, even though it did come to them because of a certain issue. But so this would apply county-wide in the different zones that it would be allowed in, which are most of the zones in the county. And so the rules would stay the same for the storage of the construction material as they were for the commercial vehicles, with the exception of a few things. Here under this A number 1, it would restrict the storage of the construction material to 25% of the property that's not covered by buildings. And so they can't use the entire property, it's just a 25% of it. And then another change that is different from the storage of commercial vehicles is here under number 8, that the construction material has to be behind a side obscuring fence no taller than 7 feet. And the construction material cannot be stacked or stored higher than the fence unless it's otherwise located inside of a building. So the structure material will hopefully be out of sight from at least ground level from the neighbors' properties. And then moving down. The other rules and things would stay the same. And part of that is that here under number 5, the storage of commercial vehicles and trailers and or construction materials in non-commercial and non-industrial zones shall not be permitted within recorded subdivisions, town sites exempted, where the average lot size is less than 3 acres. And then further down under number 7, they can't even access the property through a subdivision of that same size. So where the lots are that same size. So this shouldn't affect people that are living within subdivisions, but it would be outside of those areas. That's all I've got.
What was some of the comments? What some of the main concerns that the public had with it?
Some of the main concerns were loading and unloading of the material. They felt like that could get fairly loud. And I think that's why the definition took out stuff like gravel and soils and things like that, because usually a lumber pickup, you might be there a couple of hours loading it up on a truck and taking it or unloading it. But it wouldn't be constant. I don't imagine they'd be there several times a day loading up lumber to take to a site. So that was kind of the why that was put in there, why they couldn't have those types of things there.
Does this include, you see it around a couple different places, masonry people like that are storing brick and cinder block and all that? Does this?
Yeah, it would include those kinds of things. Allow them to be stored there on property. And this would be property where there's not a home. If there's a home and it's a home-based business, then they fall under those rules. They wouldn't fall under these rules. But this would apply to those properties where there's not a home, there's not a home-based business, so they can't fall under those rules. And it is a conditional use as well. So
it is.
Yeah.
How did the Planning Commission vote on it?
It was a unanimous vote at the Planning Commission.
To approve it?
To approve it, yes. Or to recommend approval to the county commission.
Okay. Any other questions? John, did you have one?
Yeah, can I ask a couple? And Matt, I apologize. We bumped into each other in the stairwell, so we weren't able to talk beforehand. So sorry for dropping these on you.
That's okay.
Right now. The first one, just for clarity on the fence height, because we had this in an agenda a while back, right? Just a few weeks ago, where it was that discussion about 6 feet, and here it's saying at 7 feet. So are we okay with the current rules right now where we require no more than 6 feet, I think, everywhere else in the county? But I was trying to look it up real quick. I wasn't sure if that was just subdivisions or this.
Yeah.
But you get my question. I just want to
I
make
do.
sure that here we don't have now at 7 feet, but everywhere else is 6 feet. Would it make more sense just to
Yeah.
keep it at 6 feet?
So at the last commission meeting, and this is up to 7 feet, so it doesn't need to be 7 feet. But at the last commission meeting, we were asked to look at that and see if it needed to be changed. And so what we did is we went back and looked, and it was put at 6 feet because that was the building code rule. 6 feet, no building permits required. If it was over 6 feet, then a building permit was required. So it was moved, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago to 6 feet. We went back to look at the building code to make sure that any changes we make would be consistent that way. And in this last revision of the building code, it moved it to 7 feet now without a building permit. So we're going to be bringing that forward. It's going to have to go through planning commission and things, but so the 7 feet was kind of in anticipation, or up to 7 feet was in anticipation of that. If it stays at the 6 feet, then they wouldn't be able to go above the 6 feet unless, under the current rules, unless they got approval from the county commission.
Okay. Would it, just brainstorming, would it make sense to, right now as we pass, have this just reference whatever that code provision is? Instead of setting a height standard here, we just reference that. And then if we change it, it would automatically change here. And then we're not trying to keep track of two different standards.
Yeah, that could be.
Just a suggestion, because then we're not having to keep track of so many different items.
Yeah, we can put in accordance with current county fencing regulations.
Yeah. And I don't know if the commissioners would be agreeable to that. Just, it would help just on the administrative side,
Yeah.
so people don't get confused on how high they can build their fence.
Yeah, okay.
The other question I had is, I completely understand and support people trying to just grab materials as they can, and they need to put it somewhere so they can build. But to make sure we don't just have pockets of storage yards across the county, would it make sense to maybe put a time limit that a person, if they needed to buy in bulk and get stuff stored, but then it needs to be removed off, so we don't start having little Lowe's popping up all over the county. Because if they can't put it into an actual building project, my guess is they don't want to sit on that asset. Then they're going to try and start to offload it and sell it to somebody. And yeah, now we just have little storage yards popping up all over the place. At least that would be kind of the unintended consequence.
Yeah.
So would it make sense to have a time limit of how long they could store on their property?
Yeah,
Just-
I would.
just
If you
thoughts.
do want to do a time limit, it would need to be in the ordinance here.
Yep. So those are my two comments. The purpose behind it makes complete sense.
I agree with the fence part, the time limit. I don't know how you're gonna enforce that.
Enforcement problem.
It'd be an enforcement problem.
It would probably be complaint-based, just like everything else is, quite
Well,
frankly.
it would be part of the approval of the conditional use. It would be approved just for that, whatever the time limit is, if it's put in. And then if we got a complaint, or on occasion, we do have time to go out and inspect conditional uses, and we'll pull conditional uses and go out and inspect, make sure they're still operating and following their conditions and things like that. But it's mostly right now, it's based on a complaint from a neighbor. or somebody. So that's how it would have to be enforced, is just currently that's how we're enforcing these kind of rules.
It's still limited to 25% of
Correct.
the area. But what if you were starting to see, I think of semi-permanent, maybe just pulling tarps over the top of piles. But if you start to see, guardhouses, electric gates, storage sheds for equipment and other things that make it look like that's pretty long term if you're going to be keeping multiple forklifts and what have you there, or are they prohibited from getting shed structures on there? What if they wanted to put like a lumber shed over the top of it? Is that allowed or not?
Yeah, so they would just have to follow the building permit requirements for, but a building permit for a shed would be allowed.
This would just
Yeah.
be like a cover, not really a shed, no walls or anything, just
Yeah.
from the weather. That's starting to look more than semi-permanent. And is this
Yeah.
intended to be
And under the
temporary?
under what Planning Commission recommended, they didn't have any provisions for time limit or anything like that. So it would be indefinite following the conditional use permit laws and rules that are currently at the state level and at the county level. So as long as they're using it for this purpose and following the conditions that are put on it, they'd be able to use it indefinitely. Now, if they don't follow the rules or they don't use it for more than a year, then it reverts back and the conditional use permit goes away. But if it's continually used and the conditions are followed, then they get to keep it. Even if we go and back later and change it to a time stipulation or something like that, those that were approved before get to continue on under the old rules.
Any other comments? Entertain a motion. Somebody wants to make one.
I like the fact that Planning Commission is looking into these things. I do believe there is a need. You hate to trip up somebody with red tape if it really is a temporary issue after what we've just been through with the pandemic and lumber doing what it did. There's wisdom in that. What I really don't want to see, what concerns me, is having it, as John pointed out, turn into a mini Lowe's of some sort. Now, I know builders will tell you that that's not likely to happen because we're going to cycle our lumber through while it's still good before it warps, before what have you. But I am a little concerned about, like I say, I don't see anything to keep you from starting to build lumber sheds. And I guess if that's the case, would then the 25% still apply if you've got a building permit for a shed or 5? Is that limited to the 25% as well, or what, does a new shed allow storage for any purpose?
Yeah, so it's 25% of the property not covered by buildings. So once they put the building there, then it would take that 25% and it would shrink it because that portion of the property would be covered by a building.
Okay.
But yeah, that portion wouldn't be covered in that 25%. So
Or could actually, the amount of storage there could actually exceed the 25% of.
correct, yeah,
Okay.
inside buildings, yes. And the buildings, we don't really have any for and out building like that. The only thing we have on the property are setbacks. So they could, I mean, really they could cover the entire property minus the setbacks with a building or buildings.
Okay. I guess I'd like to see a change to that where it's 25% total, whether it's under a lean-to, whether it's just being stored, because we're really not trying to create satellite lumberyards.
Okay.
So I would, I don't know.
Do you want to table this then, and we can come up with some language and get it to you guys to review with these other,
It's up to you.
with the fence
It's
height
out for a
changes and
motion.
stuff,
If
and
I don't get a motion, we'll kill it and bring it back.
we can bring it back next week or something.
So do I have a motion? Seeing none. This one dies for now.
Okay.
For lack of a motion. Okay, and we don't have a need for a public hearing request today. Matt, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I can address that, sorry. So last Monday, after the meeting was canceled, I had a conversation with Brock Slaw, the county surveyor, and Brenda McDonald, the county recorder, on this particular matter. And they brought to my attention that well, let me get to sorry, I thought I had this pulled up and I don't. Let me show the picture, then you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me just give a little bit of background and then I'll explain why we don't need the public hearing at this point. But anyways, I didn't catch it on the agenda before it was finaled on Friday, but so that was my fault that it didn't get changed. But what we've got is up Dry Fork, off the Settlement Road. This is Settlement Road here, and then this is Mountaindale Drive. Goes east and west, or no, yeah, sorry, it goes east and west there. At the end of Mountaindale Drive, there is property there for a cul-de-sac turnaround. The cul-de-sac has never been developed. It's just raw ground right now. And there is a well that's within that cul-de-sac. And so the new owner purchased the properties, the two properties here that have frontage on the cul-de-sac. It's under the same ownership now. And they came in and said, hey, we noticed that the county road is proposed to be here on the property, and there's a well in the area, in the way and things. And so they were looking for solutions to their problem. And so let me go down through here. Okay, here's a little bit better picture. So you can see here that the cul-de-sac and a small piece of property here on the east side of the cul-de-sac and the south half of the road, there's a parcel there. And what the recorder and the surveyor talked to me about last week was that this is not actually a dedicated right-of-way. It's an actual parcel of ground that was given to the county, that was deeded over to the county. So we wouldn't be following the requirements under amending a right-of-way. We're going to actually be adjusting property lines because it's an actual parcel and not a right-of-way. And so with that, we would be following the general rules of a lot line adjustment rather than modifying or amending a right-of-way. And so under the rules of a lot line adjustment, there's not a public hearing that's required for that. And it would be handled differently. But so what we wanted to do today was, if we could, is have a discussion on this and see if the commission would like to move forward with something, and then maybe kind of give some direction on how to do that. What the proposal is is, well, I'll go back to that one, but the owner would like to see what's referred to as a hammerhead turnaround rather than a cul-de-sac. It would be completely within his 2 parcels, or the owner's 2 parcels. It wouldn't go on to the neighbors or anything. It wouldn't affect any other property owners. These are the different types of turnarounds that are allowed under the fire code. So this is what's there now, the cul-de-sac, and he would like to move to this hammerhead. And so, and you can kind of see the well there. The parcel lines aren't drawn exactly where, they're not overlaid exactly on the aerial photograph. So anyway, in order to do this, it would require a survey. And it would have to be a survey that both property owners and the county signed. There are some other complications with this parcel that the county needs to look at and resolve, but before the lot line adjustment could happen, or the property owner here to the south would have to sign that lot line agreement as well. So there are some complicated factors here, and it would be a little bit of a process to get done. But the recommendation from the county surveyor was that, if we can get this property cleared up, the title to the property cleared up, and the owner wanted to pay for a lot line adjustment survey, that they could do that, and then we could, the commission would have to sign that survey as the owner of the property, and then that could be processed as a lot line adjustment. That's the direction I think that both if I'm speaking out of turn for the recorder or the surveyor, that's the direction they would like to go with it.
So this will all be on his property? The
Yes.
hammerhead, everything will be?
Right.
I'll just move forward in that direction myself. But
You talked to Jeremy about this?
Yes, we did.
Jeremy Raymond, Director of Uintah Fire District. So yeah, I would be comfortable with that alternative turnaround, the hammerhead turnaround. We would only use, this is a little different situation. There's only one house at the very end and then another one right before that. So we probably, if the turnaround's built, great, but we would never really use it unless you had a big subdivision or individual plats or lots being built back there. But I'm comfortable with everything that's been proposed and what Matt's gone over with me.
Okay.
So it would be nice if we did have at least some road base or an asphalt surfaced, to be able to support the loads of a fire truck. So, and also some signs there. The homeowner render connect, you can see right before the last one there, he says that a lot of people have turned around in his driveway just because it's asphalted and nicer than the other one. So if we had a really nice turnaround there at the end, that would help solve a lot of those problems.
And that could be the other part, is to say, hey, if you want to make this change, then, you put down the road base or whatever material. I did talk, Scott Hardman with the road department called me this morning. He said he wasn't able to be here. He's on the west side of the county. But he said he was okay with modifying the turnaround
okay.
as well.
So you just need some direction now. There's no motion, just a direction of what.
Yeah. If you'd like to see, if you're okay with looking at moving forward with the modification, then we can give some direction to the property owner and let him know what he would need to do and what what his responsibilities would be in order to look at that.
I'm fine with it. Yourself? Bill?
Looking at this, just amending. So we're just saying go ahead and look into amending,
To move forward. If it's something
just to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay,
that-
we're not going to amend
There wouldn't be
anything
any
yet.
action today.
Okay,
It's more just making sure this is agreeable because Matt's office could reach out to the landowner and we can talk about this option.
okay. Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay. Does that give you enough direction?
Yep, that'll work.
All right, sounds good. Next item on the agenda is discussion dedicating county-owned parcel as public right-of-way, parcel located at the east end of 1750 South in Naples City, parcel number 0511100060.
Okay. Again, this is just a discussion item. This was brought to, I'm not really sure how I got involved, but somebody called me and started asking questions about this. And so I'm just trying to coordinate, I guess, a little bit on this. So just to, and this is in Naples. The parcel is owned by Uintah County. It's in Naples City boundary. And it's on 1750 South Street here. And sorry,
The FAA paid for it.
yes, the property was purchased using funds from FAA to install a turnaround, or really to move a turnaround from property that was purchased by the airport, where the previous turnaround was, and so it got moved back to the west. And so the county purchased this piece of property here, and let me see if I can zoom in a little closer. And then move this. Okay. So this is the piece that we're looking at right there. And you can see there is a turnaround on the property. The property is larger than the turnaround. And I did talk with Ken down at the airport. He did say that the county does have to retain ownership of that property, or we have to pay the money back to the FAA, I guess, that was used to purchase the property, was my understanding. I think Ken, he's here. If that's different, he can speak to that. But I also talked with Mike Davis down at Naples City, and he said what they would need in order for this property owner to count it as frontage would be that basically a right-of-way be given on the whole property. And then he was saying that the owner would have to improve the frontage in order to get his frontage there. Since we're not, like on that last property, you saw the cul-de-sac was rounded, and then they get frontage off of that rounded section. In this case, the cul-de-sac is within the parcel. And so if we only gave the right-of-way around the cul-de-sac, it wouldn't work under Naples City's rules for frontage on a county road or a city road, or in this case.
So if you just make the turnaround the whole, what is a half acre, then that gives a frontage back to the landowner. So
Yeah,
they
and then
build
he can
homes.
work through Naples City on what they're going to require as far as improvements and things like that on the property. But the right-of-way would be given to Naples City for a road right-of-way. The ownership would be maintained, the ownership of the parcel would be maintained by the county, but we'd be giving a right-of-way to Naples City for the road turnaround. And then this property owner here that owns around it could work through Naples City process, and Naples City could require whatever improvements their ordinance requires.
Well, if you expand that turnaround, it keeps the weeds and everything knocked down. What else are you gonna do with it?
Yeah. It was purchased for a turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
So the discussion, I guess we're just looking for some direction on how to move forward with this. If we want this property owner to put together some paperwork for a right-of-way, whether we want, I don't know if the attorney's office wants to do that. I'm sure John wants to do something like that. Or Naples, we could say, hey, Naples City, if you guys want to do this, get with your attorney and get a right-of-way drawn up.
If you go back and listen to the commission meeting when this was done, that that place was already dedicated for a turnaround, that
Yeah.
whole area. So I don't know if the easement just didn't get drawn up or what the deal was, but that's what it was purchased for.
Yeah, we couldn't find anything as far as any encumbrances on the property for
Yeah.
easements or things like that, so. And I think we just thought that since the county owned it, maybe that's, and the turnaround's there. But Naples City is saying no, because the county could at some point dispose of that property and then
Which we,
kind of landslock the parcels behind
yeah,
it.
which we can't
Which we
dispose of
can't,
it,
yeah.
because we didn't pay for it, so,
Well, we could if we want to pay the money back.
yeah, no.
too, so.
Well, we paid 5%, didn't we? Okay.
Probably, it was probably, I don't know.
Well, I'd like to see it move forward. I'd like to give the frontage back to the landowner and help them so they can build their homes, and it doesn't hurt us at all. I mean, it's being used for that anyway, so.
Okay. Do you want us to go to Naples City and have them drop an easement, or this property owner do it? John can chime in, I guess, if he wants to do it.
I figure it's in Naples, let them do it.
There you go.
I mean, one question I have, and Ken, I don't know if you got this detailed with FAA. If it remains in public ownership, if we were to find we own the property, but then we grant an easement to Naples so that they can manage their own road, that's the part that I'm getting hung up on, is that we're operating a road within Naples City.
Well,
Which,
I thought that's what we was doing, was giving them Naples.
Are you saying
easement.
transfer the,
but I guess we're
ownership of
saying,
the property?
if we do that, we're encumbering the property. I don't think FAA is gonna like that either, that we encumber the property. So are we clear on that point, that if we encumber the property with a easement to Naples City, FAA is gonna be okay with that?
It was for Naples fire truck turnaround that's what it was in the meeting for. That's what it was purchased for.
Yeah. I mean, I know we did that, it is for fire, but it was, I mean, there was the whole negotiation back when the land was being acquired.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure if FAA, if we got that detailed with them, that they're fine that we encumber the property with an easement.
Yeah, Ken Campbell, Director of the Airport. In the Airport Compliance Manual, with all the questions that I was asked, I was not asked specifically about what can we do with it other than transfer it. I know we can't transfer it. It is a city and a county-owned piece of property, or an airport-owned piece of property, or airport purchased. To encumber it with easements and such, I'd have to do a little bit more research to figure that out.
Okay.
Well, is it an actual encumbrance unless it is developed in a way that would make it ineffective for its original purpose of a turnaround?
My Ken Campbell brain agrees with you, but probably not my FAA brain. I'd have to ask the FAA.
Yeah.
You have one of those?
It's very small.
Okay.
It just depends on, because I understand not the actual deeding the land over, but when you think of property rights, it's a bundle of sticks. And if we can't transfer any of those sticks over to another entity, public or private, then yeah, we're stuck with managing a small portion of road within a municipality, which is just awkward.
Awkward as it is, the only other option would be for me to wrap a fence around it. Doesn't make much sense for the use that we're doing, or for the landowner.
Yeah, no doubt. A solution needs to be found, but I just want to make sure
Agreed.
that if we are
The most conciliatory
conveying
approach is
a
for me
few
to
of
ask
those
the
sticks
FAA
of
about
the,
that.
sorry, what was that?
The most conciliatory approach for all parties involved would be for me to ask the FAA if that's possible.
Yeah.
Were they clear about why they were paying the money? Was it to isolate that ground, or was it to create the opportunity for a turnaround?
I wasn't here then. I would assume a couple of different things, but they'd all be assumptions.
There was a turnaround at the end of the road that's on the airport property now. And so when we took that away, there was no turnaround. So we moved that. We purchased that property to put the turnaround there instead of where it was. So it's the same use, just outside the property.
The airport fence runs
The new
right
airport
here.
fence.
Okay.
And what Bart is saying, or Mr. Haslam, is this turnaround used to be right here.
There was no turnaround there. It was just driveway.
That hammer, probably that hammer, whatever they called it.
Going into
Oh.
Uintah's house.
That's Mr. Walker. He could come to the microphone. He's the landowner of this piece of property right here.
Greg Walker, I'm the property owner right there. They purchased, the county came to me when the turnaround, when the airport bought that piece, and they took half my hayfield right there. I have no problem with it. But when they came, they says, well, we're gonna make the turnaround inside the airport. I says, FAA's not gonna let you. They says, oh yes. This is a whole different commissioner when they did it. Anyway, when the FAA bought the place and Bowden's and my place, they came back to me about a month and a half, 2 months later, after they bought it, says, we need more ground from you to make a turnaround. And that's where we're sitting at right now.
So, and I'm sorry, Ken, you said you haven't specifically asked the FAA about the use itself. We just can't get rid of it. We
That's
have to
correct.
maintain it. But its purpose seemed to be, and they must have bought into the fact that it's to allow fire trucks or turnaround.
Ken
So
Campbell
we
agrees
can-
with you, but I can't account for the FAA.
Do you think you can get that answer from?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I think once they do that, that may solve John's problem, but it does have to stay true. The final use has to stay true to the notion that it provides that turnaround.
Agreed.
Well, if all we're doing is conveying a public easement or an easement for public transportation purposes, then Naples wouldn't be able to use it for any other purpose anyway.
You know, if you thought of it as a parking lot or something like that in front of Dynaland Aviation or something, it has similar characteristics. You know, a public easement, access, things like that,
Well-
that may be that, but those are assumptions on my part.
I'm even thinking of, once it becomes a full right-of-way, and that allows the property owner to develop things on their property, that the development of those can't interfere. However, I can't imagine what that might be at this point in time, but they couldn't interfere, like if putting in mailboxes, putting in whatever it might be
I
that
think
serve those.
much like Commissioner Haslam pointed out, any improvement of us by that
Naples
area,
or-
of the landowner by that area, is just that. It's an improvement to the purpose that it was put there for if we move forward. But again, I can't account for that from the FAA's standpoint, but it sure makes sense in my head, just like a parking lot would or something else around the airfield. Brenda?
Brenda McDonald, Uintah County Recorder. Your question on would that encumber by doing a right-of-way? Yes, right-of-ways and easements in land, they are an encumbrance. So if you're checking with FAA, you need to make sure that they would be okay with a right-of-way or an easement across that, because anytime you put one on a property, you've encumbered the property.
Agreed, thank you.
Is there one now for the road? Do you know?
No, it's just deeded to the county. It's in the county's name.
So how does Naples have a road there now?
Because when that road was adopted into the Naples city when they created the city.
Well, 1750 is a Naples road. The blister bubble to the top. That's what, Brenda, that's what you're talking about, right? That was just dedicated to the county.
Yes.
I don't think that's part of the Naples road
It's not
system
part of
right
the
now.
road.
And we don't have it as part of our road system either.
We don't.
Yeah.
So then the question would arise about who would care for that property or care about it or take care of the needs of it, weeds, asphalt replacement, all of those things.
Exactly, and that's where I was saying it's kind of awkward if we're maintaining a little bit of piece of road within the Naples City transportation plan. I mean, it's not unheard of, it's just weird. I'd rather not us do that.
Do you know who built the roundabout, the turnaround now? Who built that and who?
Road department did.
If you're gonna speak, you have to come up to the mic.
Here I go again. Greg Walker. The road department built the roundabout,
The county road
the
department?
county road department. And I'm sorry to say, I have one thing to say about that road department, that turnaround. You're saying not a parking lot. Neighbor across the street, I wish I would have had pictures last year. You couldn't turn around anybody in there. He had things parked in. He had a swing set in there. He had a basketball banker. He had a camp trailer parked all in a roundabout. I just want to say that. Sorry to say.
I'm fine.
Ken, what do we pay for the property? You know offhand?
I don't know.
If we give 2% or 5% of it, are we better off
5%.
to give that, or they probably want the whole amount of property?
The whole amount
Yeah.
back.
And the
Looks like
process
it might be cheaper for
the
us to
process would take over a year.
buy it back and give it to Naples.
Naples buy it.
Okay. Well, Ken, if you'll move forward and just
No
get
trouble.
with FAA, find out, and then we can make a decision from there.
Okay, will
Get
do.
with Matt, and so we can put this back on and
Will do.
make a
Thanks.
decision.
And I know I was joking, if we want to go that route and it's us just dedicating an easement to Naples City for their public transportation system, our office can do that. We're happy to do that.
So as long as the FAA, they will take care of it.
I'll ask and get
We'll
back
move
with
forward.
Matt.
Okay.
Thanks.
Do you have anything else, Matt?
That's all I've got.
Okay, so no action. Let's see, Utah opioid litigation, Henry Schein settlement agreement.
Commissioners, I can take that one. So as you know, through other agenda items and past actions, Uintah County has been actively engaged in the opioid litigation regarding different distributors, doctors, and pharmacists and stuff like that. Anyway, part of the global litigation that's going on, there is a defendant, and I don't know if it's Sheen or Shine. I've actually never heard it vocalized. It's just been in paperwork. So
I said Sheen.
I'm going to say
they told
Sheen.
me Shine.
Henry Sheen, Inc. There is this settlement agreement and release for Henry Sheen that has been negotiated between all the parties. I can list them out, but I'll just show you this big paragraph right there. That's all the parties that are associated. It's listing all the counties, state of Utah, so a number of different parties. It's been negotiated with him that he would get a release and a settlement amount of $60,000 paid to the plaintiffs in this litigation, which we are a part of the plaintiffs group. That $60,000 is being requested that, since it's such a small amount to each participating county, that it be added to or computed as part of the attorney's fees that are being collected by our outside counsel. And then it would be obviously subtracted out of that column of what would be paid to those attorneys. So then our settlement and the other ones that we have approved so far with Jansen and Johnson, that we would see at least a little bit of money actually coming back to the counties on that. So that's the terms of this settlement agreement. It's for $60,000 total regarding all the plaintiffs, and it is a release of any claims against Henry Sheen, Inc.
Okay.
Is that a one-time payment or is that a yearly payment?
It was just a one-time. Yeah, so it's a pretty small amount when you add up all the plaintiffs on there. Yep.
Okay. So we need a motion on that?
I'm asking for a motion to approve the settlement agreement, yes.
Okay. I entertain a motion.
Don't know whose turn it is, but Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we go ahead and approve the Utah opioid litigation Henry Sheen settlement agreement with appropriate signatures has been presented.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, allocation of the state mineral lease money.
Mr. Chairman, there was, we were informed by Mike Wilkins first that the county received $284,123 in state mineral lease money, which is, of course, federal lease money that they recycle and pretend it's theirs. And it automatically goes to whoever, I think this year it went to fire. That's the last time we said send it someplace. But then we have the opportunity to redirect that money. It just has to go to a special service district. It's part of the rules of the financial services is they won't send a check to the county, general county anymore. It has to go to an SSD. So what we do is after it comes, we look at it and we see where need might be. So this year, what we're looking to do is move 15,000 of that 284,123 to the Animal Control Special Service District for their radios that they need to get on the narrow band along with the sheriff's office. They just happen, they're a lot smaller. I think 15,000 pretty much does all of their radios. There may be one or two left. And then the remaining, it looks like 269,123, I believe there was discussion about going to recreation. I mean, that was a possibility. I think that's what we're doing here today, is talking about where to go. There are 5 other districts. None of them are in as much need as perhaps health care district or recreation for some of the projects they have. So there's $269,123 left to go where the body deems. So I just made my request for the 15.
I can't see any reason not to just go ahead and allocate it. Let's make that in a motion. The 15,000 to the animal control and the remaining difference to the rec district.
Okay. Have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second.
Oh, okay, well, go ahead.
You
I
want to
second.
have discussion?
A little discussion, just
Little
a question.
discussion.
I don't know, Jeremy, does that go to you now, or does that go back, do you push that back through the treasurer's office or the?
No, so we received that money. I verified our PTIF account and we did receive it. We received it last year, 2 years before as well. 2 years ago, you gave us 100% of it. Last year, you gave us you didn't give us it. You gave transportation and recreation.
No, transportation and health, I think.
Yes, so we split that. So what the fire district will do, we get the accounts, the PTIF accounts of the other districts, and then we just transfer that money. And we note it, document it, and then send a copy to everybody so we know where the money's at.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Jeremy. Any further discussion?
No.
Mr. Chair, if I can just offer the clarification that we anticipate and hope they will spend, right, that for that purpose, because we don't have direct financial control over the service districts, but also just like cautionary, if we say, hey, we're giving you this money for this purpose and they don't, then maybe the county won't be as generous when the next allocation opportunity comes up.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay, public comment, 3 minutes a person, up to 10 minutes.
Tammy Meekum, Concerned Citizens. So I'm disappointed and saddened by what has happened here today in commission meeting. You guys have had meetings after meetings not to accept the IT system from your, I want to spell that out, YOUR employees. your elected officials, and yet you three still do as you please. And Commissioner Horrocks, I'm proud of you for tabling 2 weeks ago on this resolution on the $26 million bond that took. I actually hope you asked a few people about that bond and what it would do in the upcoming years to the county and the new commissioners coming in. And I want to look at you, Bart. You guys never look at your speaker. If this was reversed, would you want the outgoing commissioners to do this bond to you coming in 2023?
I brought this up before the election was was even brought up, and I would have voted for it then if I was coming in or not. It's the
Okay.
best thing for the citizens of
I want it on the
Uintah
record
County.
again that we've had meetings after meetings of your employees, and that's who you guys work for, is the county, the taxpayers, and your employees, and you don't ever listen to them. You have asked them, they have asked you not to do this resolution.
We're
Time and
talking
time
about the
again, meeting
resolution
after
or
meeting. But you, again, you three commissioners, do as you please.
Are we talking about the resolution on the paying off the jail? $26 million. Yeah. Yeah, we actually have listened to citizens on that. We had it when we had the hearing and the open house. We had a lot of citizens here that pay taxes that are happy that it's being paid off, so. Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none. Anything you'd like to add, say,
Let's see, the fair's coming up,
this weekend?
starting this weekend. I don't have my stuff in front of me, but the fair's coming up, exciting times there. Farmers Market, great deal going on down there at the Farmers Market. That's very fun and encouraging and to participate in. Finals happened last week at the Live After 5. That was great. Balloon Festival coming up. Holy smokes, I can't never keep track of everything that's coming up just to get in the public. John made it to Kings Peak, no injuries.
Yeah, yeah. I can't cash in on my 9 visits, get your 10th one free yet.
Free yet, huh? All right.
Yeah.
That's how, I think
Would you mind if I do ask a question? Jeremy, you're still there. How's our fire season doing with all the lightning and stuff? Do you mind, Commissioner Haslam, if I just ask on that?
Oh, I don't mind.
I think it might be, I'm just curious.
You're
Yeah.
public.
Kind of, yeah.
So we've been busy. Our fire season started kind of late. Last Thursday, we had a Blue Mountain fire. You probably all saw it. That same day, we had another fire pop up on top of the Yampa Plateau, so right above Split Mountain. And then the next day, we had another one about a mile north of that. So we had some lightning go through that area Wednesday night, pretty big lightning storms, and it sparked a few fires. And then we've also had assisted Duchesne County with a couple lightning strikes as well. There's the Boulder Fire 6 miles west of Neola. And so that's been keeping us pretty busy, the volunteers, and assisting our federal partners, BLM, Forest Service. And so, yeah, we've probably had, since Thursday, we've probably responded on 7 or 8 fires, lightning strike fires. So
Anything down south yet?
no, Book Cliffs.
We're
Not that
doing
I'm
okay down there.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. They have had some lightning strikes in the past, but nothing over the weekend that I'm aware of. So it's gotten a little bit busy for us.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jeremy. Any other comment?
Well, I know sometimes I'm guilty of going further or not responding to all the public comments simply because this body is a tiny, tiny fraction of the people in the community, taxpayers and voters. And so this is not the word of the people here. That's the word of some people. But I want to talk a little bit about, Tammy, to your comment about the IT system, for example. I don't know how else to say this. Our IT system is in disrepair, at best. You can shake your head all you want, but that I'm going to attribute that to your lack of understanding. That's the way it works. We have had numerous problems. We just went through our audit again, and they said we were guilty of doing this, that, and the other thing. And one of the big ones was IT. Said, you haven't fixed the problems. Said, yeah, we actually have, but we're not always sure what all the problems are. Sometimes when we're working our way through and we find something, and I think maybe you heard today, we've been having a little bit of a problem over the last 4 months trying to get our financial system put together. Well, when the group sat there and listened, we picked up a lot of things. I think almost everybody, I'm going to say almost everybody in the meeting, had something to say, including, wow, they've got some good ideas. This is not a system like ADP where they want millions to do this. This is a fairly decent system. It's used by some other folks, and they do have some good ideas. And we're going to use them. I don't say we're going to steal them and make them our own, but we're certainly going to learn something from it. But other things, we're still finding the problems as we go. I'm not going to, said it before, I'm not going to lay blame on anybody in particular. It's just the face of IT changes, and it changes rapidly. And I know we talked a little bit about our breakdown in system integrity when we lost those closed meeting. That's unacceptable. And it's not one of those things where IT can go through every last program every day to make sure it's working. They're usually reacting to people who say they have a problem. But if you don't know you have a problem until after there's already been a disaster, then there's a little bit of an issue. But I do remember when we listened to, when we did listen to the contractor, questions were asked by some of the elected officials. Well, can you automate the purchasing process? Yes. That's something, yes, we could do it too. We could do almost everything they can do, we just don't have the time. But once we invest in the system, it will improve our system going forward. This is not a lifelong commitment. This is a process improvement. And it will work for us. At the end, we can sit back and say, well, we paid $220,000 over 5 years. How'd we do? How did it work? Well, $220,000 over 5 years, that's 2 positions for 1 year. That's the cost of 2 positions in a year. And we've all talked about the fact that by developing our own system, we've actually developed a little bit of tunnel vision. We keep building on the system in front of us. We're not seeing all the things that are out to the side. Well, we are going to do better. But this is not the worst investment of money you've ever seen. I can name a whole bunch that were a lot worse. As far as the bond is concerned, I'm still sticking with the notion that we had people that were really good at finance. Take a look at those numbers. We have a completely different view. We think the numbers are not only good, I'm a little concerned that there's so much left over that it's still going to be potentially misused, but we'll see. So we're in no danger whatsoever of not having enough money, period. I would like to see the county actually learn to manage instead of raining cash like it has for so many years and we built up all this money. I'd like to see us manage a little tighter, be a little closer to the vest. Quit looking for things to spend money on and instead make sure the money goes to the right places in the first place. I don't think the county it wasn't I'm not going to say guilty about spending on a 460 policy or 450 policy. At the time that was done, there was no Affordable Care Act. So people who retired before the age of 65 had to go looking for insurance. When the county came up with that, that was a decent benefit. I mean, it was well funded, but it got people through to Medicare. Well, we have the Affordable Care Act now. What do we need that for? Why should employees get a better deal than every other taxpayer in the county? It's available to everyone. You're already paying your taxes for it at the national level. Why would we want our taxpayers to pay double for something that's already out there? So yes, I know that there's some things that we don't get general agreement about, but if you think that we are guilty of not considering what's going on or not considering comment or not doing our homework, I think, I'm sorry to say you're underestimating us, but that's my take on it. It's not the response you probably wanted to hear, but it's a response that I had available. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Were you keeping count?
That's why you said
No, I don't. I only get one for that.
That's why I opted for it.